What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be going over what makes a buff girl. Of course, you want strength, you want power, and you want that nice lean tone muscle. But what is the difference between training as a man and training as a woman? Well, we're going to be going over that in this video, and it really comes down to one major difference. So let's get started. So we are on to the first exercise that we are performing today. She has the app pulled up, the Buff app, and she's gonna be logging all the weight because we have our new Buff Girl program that is really designed to help build specific muscle groups. And the first exercise can be step downs. And I do wanna mention that what it really takes to become a buff girl is in a lot of ways very similar to what it takes for a dude to become buff. I mean, you still have to put in the work, you have to lift heavy, and you have to be very focused. So a key difference in step ups to step downs is really gonna be the eccentric motion. So Michaela, now you're gonna be real slow on the way down. Now, on the way up, you don't have to focus on the step up as much as you are the step down. So the step up can be pretty fast. You can get a little help from your other leg just to kind of get to the top position. But once you get to the top position, you're stepping down really slow. You're pushing your hips back and you're really trying to control the descent. What this is doing is not only working your quads, your hamstrings, but also big time in the glutes. And to really focus on the glutes, you can kind of bend over a little bit more than what you would typically do in maybe a step up there. So that way those glutes are gonna be controlling that descent. And with the Buff Girl program, it's all about specific muscle groups targeting kind of the typical, woman physique, or at least what women tend to want to develop, which one is going to be glutes, legs, maybe shoulders, triceps, things like that. So today, of course, we are hitting those glutes and hitting them big time. How's that feeling?
Feels really good.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. And this is exactly what we're talking about. The amount of work men and women put into a program, put into developing their physique is really no different. Both of them are gonna have to put a lot of work into it, and it's gonna take time. I think that's probably the number one thing I would say. Patience, consistency, and just overall a lot of hard work, not only in the gym, but outside the gym too, with your nutrition, maybe cardio if you're trying to lose a little bit more weight, kind of try to burn more calories throughout the day, but awesome job. That was the first exercise. Step downs, what do you think?
Great. Felt it in all the right spots.
Exactly.
It was really good.
I think that's probably what you always have to think of too when you're performing an exercise. One, to understand why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to focus on? In this case, glutes, a little bit of legs, hamstrings, stuff like that. Are you feeling it in the area you should be feeling it in? If not, if an exercise is trying to target a certain area, that's when you say, okay, one, am I going too heavy? Am I going too light? Mm-hmm. Do I need to change my position slightly? So something that we're just talking about, bend over a little bit more, push those hips back, slow the descent. All of a sudden, those small adjustments, like, wow, now I really feel those glutes fire, and that's exactly what you want. So those little adjustments can go a long way.
Yeah, bending over a little definitely made me feel it a little bit more, and I was also really trying to think about the muscle, and I feel like that also helps, weirdly enough.
Mind-muscle connection. I think another important thing whenever you're on a program or stepping into the gym is to have a goal. Mm-hmm. And with this program, Michaela has some pretty big goals, which I think is a great thing to have.
Yes, one of my big goals that I recently set was that I'm going to be entering a bodybuilding competition a little while from now. So my main goals in the gym have been building as much muscle as possible in my glutes and shoulders specifically.
But you don't want to get too big. What happens? You're gonna turn into a man. And that is the sad thing. A lot of women will be scared about getting too big. Obviously, Michaela, she wants to compete. She wants to step on stage. She wants to gain muscle, and that's really the whole point. And that is something you just shouldn't be scared of. And that's what I think is so great about you. You're pushing hard, you're lifting heavy, you're eating more, you're kind of bulking up in that sense of trying to gain muscle. And I mean, it shows, but you are very womanly.
I've been working really, really hard in the gym for over a decade, and I'm still not as big or bulky as I would have liked to be. So that's another thing I like to tell women is keep working hard in the gym. Don't be afraid of it, because it's just going to give you that healthy, toned, sexy physique that you dream of having.
And as you can tell, we're doing all unilateral motions today, the first day here. Unilateral meaning that you're focusing on one side before moving on to the next. So we're splitting the body in separate sides there. So Michaela's starting on her left, then she's gonna move on to her right. A couple reasons why you introduce unilaterals is, one is a lot of stability goes into this. So you're gonna have to brace in your core as Michaela, because it's gonna wanna throw you off because the weight is distributed only to one side. So you're gonna have to now contract and brace to make sure your body's stable and lifting the weight properly with proper form there. Another reason is about symmetry. I mean, hey, women wanna be symmetrical too, just like guys, right? You want that nice aesthetics, that symmetry, and unilateral work can kind of play into that a lot because we are natural, a lot of us are asymmetrical. So, we got to work on specific portions of our body to make sure we look really good, especially because Michaela's going to be stepping on stage in a bodybuilding competition. So it's all about symmetry. It's all about looking perfect, right? Like you're sculpted out of marble or stone. So unilateral motions can help target specific areas, and you can always do a few more reps on one side if you want to maybe focus on that, or maybe do an extra set on that side. So that's why unilaterals are extremely important for those two reasons. Now, really quickly, just to explain the single arm bench rows here and how to perform it, what is really working. First, it's going to be targeting the lats. That's kind of the major muscle group, the big muscle group that we're really trying to target here through a rowing motion, a pulling motion there. As you can tell, Michaela's pulling the weight, the dumbbell, just about that hip crease section there. So there's not only motion in her shoulder, kind of retracting that shoulder back, but rowing that elbow, flexion in the elbow, trying to get that elbow nice and high there. So as you can see, the lat coming through here, nice stretch. So you're bringing the muscle from a stretch position to a contracted or flexed position there. And then also the biceps rear delt is helping out with that motion though. So it's a compound movement, meaning that there's multiple joints involved, shoulder, elbow there, but the major mistake I think a lot of people can make, go ahead and take a break, Michaela, can make in this is not really having a lot of motion in the shoulder. So all of a sudden it's just turning into like an arm row. They're just flexing in the elbow. There's not a lot of motion in the shoulder, that retraction in the shoulder there. So again, a compound motion, you want to involve multiple joints. If all of a sudden you're just doing a single joint with just flexion in the elbow, like an arm row, it's really just hitting the biceps, and it's kind of defeating the whole purpose of the exercise, because the purpose is to try to hit the lats, target the lats. And the good thing about a compound is you can go a little bit heavier with it. It was Michaela earlier, she's hitting those 50s, man. You're being able to row a lot of weight, which is good. That's what compounds are for. You want to make sure you can, or try to stress the amount of weight you're performing to put a lot of load on those muscles, especially when you're doing a bigger muscle group like the lats. So, and she's got some lats. She's got that lat spread. That's right. She got to get the posing down. Look at that. Look at the V-taper. See, V-taper is important. Again, aesthetics, symmetry, wide shoulders, wide back. Boom, going into a tiny waist. Look at that. Awesome. So you see that lat spread. That's exactly why you're going to be doing rows, pulling motions, hitting those lats, get that nice V-taper. Good job, Michaela. Looking awesome. So we are moving on to the third exercise, and as you can tell, it's another unilateral, and it's also moving back onto legs. So this is the single leg Romanian deadlift here, and it's gonna be focusing on the hamstrings and glutes, getting that nice stretch, full stretch in the hamstrings before using that hip flexion to bring it back to top position. Now this would be regarded as a little bit more of an isolation movement due to the focus on really just the hip joint flexing and extending. There is a slight bend in the knee, but really you want to keep it as stationary as possible to get as much stretch in the hamstring as you possibly can. And so this is a good case in point in how a program designed for maybe goal specificity when it comes to women wanting to focus on different muscle groups, body parts, like maybe the glutes, the legs. As you can tell, this is a full body workout today, but there'll be extra exercise, we're doubling up on specific muscle groups like the legs. So there's more attention in those specific muscles, typically what women want to work on. You know, it doesn't mean guys don't want to work on it or shouldn't do these exercises, because 100% most guys need to put a little bit more attention to legs, me included. So doing these kind of programs is just as beneficial for men as it is for women. But again, it kind of comes down to what do you want to get out of your workouts. And what Michaela's getting out of it right now is a lot of hamstrings, a lot of glutes. And how you feeling?
I feel great. That was perfect. Got an extreme stretch in the hamstrings, and
that's what it's all about. Yeah. And as you can tell, Michaela's kind of using some stability, kind of hanging on to this, because unilaterals, like we're saying, is a lot of stability, a lot of bracing. So you can do it without holding on to something, which is gonna make it a lot harder, but sometimes you gotta work into that. Or don't be scared or afraid to just maybe get some stability on something, or even change the exercise, because there's also the alternative B stance Romanians there too. So that way you have a little bit more stability there with the leg on the floor. So you can always kind of switch the exercises depending on your comfortability, your confidence, you know, what fitness level you are. But this one is an excellent one to target those hamstrings and glutes. So the next exercise, we're moving on to single arm bench press here. So as you can tell, Michaela, one arm, going nice and light with this. And one thing I do want to mention is that typically women are not going to want to put a lot of emphasis on developing their chest muscles. A lot of times it's going to be maybe more posterior chain exercises, glutes, back, triceps, stuff like that. But it is always good to try to create a bit more balance in the muscles, not only symmetry as far as how it looks, but just function and strength. Because if you overdevelop specific muscles, let's say you're just working your back muscles all the time and your chest muscles are weak and you never train them, sometimes that can create imbalances just how you feel. You can get aches and pains in certain areas because those muscles are pulling those joints or those bones kind of out of place, and you'd be like, oh, my neck kind of hurts. So to create balance by including anterior work, or maybe work more on the front part of the body, like a chest press, even if it's just light and only if it's maybe just one exercise a week or 2 exercises a week, just to create balance in there is always a good idea. All right, so we are on to the next exercise, and as you can tell, hitting some more glutes. This is the single leg hip thrust here. Michaela elevating her upper body, keeping one leg in the air, which is gonna take some core work, as she was saying earlier, to balance this leg. But the working leg, which is thrusting upwards, as you can tell, getting a little bit of hip flexion and extension and some knee flexion and extension as well. But primarily it's working the glutes, or at least that's the goal. So the target, glutes, still gonna feel a little bit in the quads just due to the knee flexion and extension, but we're just doing body weight here. So it's really kind of just burning those glutes out. But I really love these type of glute exercises, these thrusting exercises or hip extension exercises, glute bridges, all that kind of stuff, because it can really get you in touch with your glutes and fire them up, because it is targeting that hip hinging motion, which is extremely important to get the glutes fired up. Also that mind muscle connection, like we were talking about earlier. You can even get to this position, this almost bridge position here, and hold it, boom, hold it for a little bit, and that's really gonna fire those up. So you can kind of play with that tempo, slow descent, slow contraction, but also a nice hold in there too to get those muscles fired up. All right, so we're on to the last exercise, and this is a little bit more what you could say is kind of core stability work here. It's gonna be bird dog. So as you can see, Michaela is in the tabletop position. Boom, she's lifting her left arm out and her right leg out at the same time. Now immediately, I'm sure as Michaela can tell, this is gonna throw her off balance. So as you can see, it's a lot of stability in there, and she's doing it very slowly. And as she brings her limbs out straight, she's not only getting glute work too, which is nice, because she's getting that nice squeeze up here from her leg being extended, get a little shoulder work. But again, she's gonna have to brace that core to balance and stabilize this position. The whole point is to be extremely still, and she's not turning, she's not twisting, her back is staying straight. Boom, nice, slow, controlled. So this is amazing for stability, for balance, for bracing, and getting everything nice and tight. So awesome job, Michaela. I know it takes a lot of work and concentration here too, which is good.
I'm really focused.
She is. Nice neutral chin. Boom. So it's a good finisher for the workout here. Obviously, everything is already feeling a little fatigued, so this is really burning everything out and is going to test your abilities a little bit more here too to stabilize, but that's kind of the whole point there. So that concludes day one of the new Buff Girl program. And as we were saying in the beginning, what's the big difference between being a buff girl, a buff dude, and how to achieve those goals? And it really comes down to not a lot is different. Again, you have to put in the hard work, the consistency, the patience. The really only big difference in choosing a program is all about your goals. What do you want to get out of it? You want to build your glutes, your shoulders. Well, your program is going to be a little different than mine because I'm really trying to develop chest or biceps. So that's what you have to take in consideration when you're choosing a program. And that's why we came out with the Buff Girl program, because a lot of women are going to want to develop a little bit different body groups. So that pretty much wraps it up. And I think it's super inspiring that you're gonna be stepping on stage. I am very much looking forward to that. So her training is gonna be very consistent, it's gonna be very strict. She's gonna be working on the Buff Girl program. Now the question is, what category are you gonna enter?
Yeah, it's a bit of a toss-up between bikini or fit model division. So
what do you guys think? Which one should she enter? Let us know in the comments, because I know Hudson, he's got the bodybuilding bug. He's gonna be stepping back on stage too, and you know, I think I got it as well. Brother versus brother. You got Michaela, got Aga. Oh, it's gonna be a fun one. So we're looking forward to it. Hope you guys join us, and maybe you'll step on the stage too. But either way, if not, still jump on the program.
I'd love to see any of you guys on the Buff app working out with me. The community feature is so much fun, and it's really motivating. So hope to see you guys on there.
So we'll see you on there. Until next time, stay buff.